Good morning. Did you breathe 10 times consciously? Because I know we've all been breathing anyway. It is good to be with you this morning, beloved ones. And what I hear is National Garden Day. And so welcome to my garden. I am beginning this morning with an acknowledgement that I am located right here in Vista, on the stolen land of the Luiseño and the Kumeyaay nations. I light a candle in acknowledgement of the first still people of this land. And encourage you wherever you are, if you are out of our area, to learn, if you haven't already, who the tribal land is that you happen to be on. So I want to welcome you all this morning. It is good to be together in worship. I think about you all throughout the week and think about how we are living our faith and crafting ways to be together in this time of pandemic, in this portal, as Arundhati Roy called it, an opportunity to see what we will bring through. And certainly what I see is deep community, innovation, ways of really appreciating how we connect and how we connect with neighbors and friends and continue to deepen in our faith. I was at 2 ordinations yesterday. I went to the ordination of Reverend Everett, Howe, who was ordained by First UU in San Diego, and it was beautiful. I was at the ordination of the Reverend Elizabeth Mount, who is one of our most activist ministers, who lives her faith in bold ways, and that was in Indianapolis. And as I watched people come onto the screen in Elizabeth's ordination and watched the community gather and thought about what was happening at that ordination, at the affirming of the ministry of this powerful transforming minister. And I thought, our faith is alive and well. Our faith has the opportunity to bring our values into the world, still, no matter what. And today I celebrate actually the 16th anniversary yesterday of you calling me to be the minister at Palomar UU Fellowship. So I'm thinking a lot about our ministry, and I'm thinking about the work that we do together week after week and day after day as we imagine a new way. And that's what we do on Sunday mornings. We bring our community together for that affirmation that our values matter in the world, that we matter, the work we do matters, and you matter, and you are not alone in this time. So make sure you find the ways to connect throughout the week. You can look at our website if you're new, vistauu.org. Check the calendar out. There's all sorts of ways to continue to connect and to deepen and to imagine new possibilities for ourselves in our world. This is a sanctuary for those seeking and finding their own answers to questions of faith. This is a sanctuary wherever we are for voices lifted up for peace and justice. This is a sanctuary for those seeking companionship in our struggles and our journeys. I want to give some deep gratitude before I do the call to worship to those who are joining me in the service. Tim, Evil, Sizer, Kimberly, Katya, Michael, Emily, Kathleen is chaplain, and so pleased to welcome our affiliate minister, the Reverend James Field, to give our reflection, who brought us our worship this morning. And I call us into worship this morning by words from the Hebrew scripture, Song of Solomon. For now the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of singing has come. The fig tree puts forth its figs, and the vines are in bloom. Let us give forth fragrance. Let us see what sweet beauty and sweet fruits we can grow in this, our strangest spring. James writes, it is good to be together.
Today's chalice lighting words are by John O'Donohue. And it reads, in this fragile frontier place, your kindness becomes a light that consoles the brokenhearted, awakens within desperate storms, the oasis of serenity that calls the spirit to rise from beneath the weight of pain, to create a new space in the person's mind, where they gain distance from their suffering and begin to see the invitation to integrate and transform it. May you embrace the beauty in what you do, and may you stand like a secret angel between the bleak despair of illness and the unquenchable light of spirit that can turn the darkest destiny towards dawn.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend James Field, and I'm a hospice chaplain, which means I visit people that are very sick for my job. But before that, a long time ago, I was an English teacher. And for the Time for All Ages today, I wanted to share a couple of poems that I based my reflection on a poem by a poet named William Carlos Williams, who just happens to be a doctor and a Unitarian Universalist from New Jersey, who was born in the 1880s and died in the 1960s, and one of the more famous American poets. But he wrote poetry that was very different from classical poetry. And rather than following the regular rules of a poem, sometimes when people see these poems, they think that's not a poem, because it doesn't sound like, I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. It doesn't have those kind of rules. So the first poem is called This Is Just to Say by William Carlos Williams. This is just to say, I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox, and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet and so cold. And I thought this poem reminded me a lot of sort of what's going on in my own house, and probably for a lot of us that are home together a lot more than we always were, and of the little conflicts and things that arise when we live together in tight spaces and with less of an outlet than we usually have. And so I thought we would reflect on things little transgressions we've made against each other and the apologies we've had to make. And one of the funnier ones in my house was my daughter made really good pizza. And my wife and my daughter and I ate our share, and we saved some for our son who was out riding his bike. And when he came back, the pizza was all gone. And he thought we hadn't saved him any. But it turned out a dog ate all the pizza. So the dog can't write an apology note, but we can. And so I wonder if any of you might have had this experience, if we reflect for all of us on little incidents like this that have happened as we've been sharing our lives together, maybe a little closer than sometimes. I know there's a plate of cookies over in the kitchen right there that I'm trying not to have to write a note about because my kids made them last night after I went to bed. And so I wanted to try to look at if anybody wants to share in the chat any incidents that have happened where they had to make a little apology, maybe for eating someone's food or taking someone's place or using the last this or taking the game that someone wants. I wonder if that's coming up for anybody else in their lives right now. I'll give a minute to wait on the chat, but we'll see. Well, I don't see anything right now, but if it comes up, we'll go back to it. The funny thing about this poem is that it became a meme. Oh, somebody ate something. Let me bring up the chat. It's hard to see because I'm on my phone right now. Yes, eating somebody's guacamole chips definitely happens. Yep, it's happening to all of us. Yeah, that's how it is right now. We're all having a lot of that. On some of us don't have anybody. Yeah, I apologize for that. Really, I'd like to see that happening, and it seems to be getting very long. Yeah. So for all of those, definitely it's a good reminder too that we all make mistakes and that it's not the end of the world, and sometimes we just need to apologize. And really, this poem is not a very good apology. And William Carlos Williams actually wrote a joke answer to this poem from his wife's point of view. Her name was Flossie. And you can read Flossie's reply if you look it up. But this William Carlos Williams poem became an internet meme. There's a great article in New York Magazine about this, but somebody wrote, yeah, I've eaten the M&Ms that were in the bowl and which you were probably saving for Halloween. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet. In the 1960s, a poet named Kenneth Coach wrote a whole series of them. One that was, last evening we went dancing and I broke your leg. Forgive me, I was clumsy. And I wanted you here in the wards where I am the doctor. So that doesn't sound so great. And then here's another one from the internet. These were all kind of anonymous Twitter users, so I couldn't find proper names to attribute most of these. I've eaten the Pokemon in the Pokédex, and which you were probably saving for the tournament. Forgive me, the icebox had no plums today. And then another one. I've eaten the Chipotle that was in the fridge, and which you were probably saving for 2 a.m. Forgive me, it was delicious, so soggy, and so gross. It's all of those are kind of funny ones. But the second poem that I wanted to share from William Carlos Williams is called The Red Wheelbarrow. And this one's pretty famous. The red wheelbarrow, so much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rain beside the white chickens. And I think that's the picture from the original book maybe. And a wheelbarrow is a very, very important tool on the farm because you can carry plants, you can carry seeds, you can carry soil, you can carry trash, you can carry people. One of my favorite Halloweens was when a friend of mine had leg braces and casts on both legs. And the dads took him around to house trick-or-treating with in the wheelbarrow. It was one of my favorite memories of Halloween as a kid. But when I think about the red wheelbarrow, it's really ordinary. It's a very mundane tool, but it's really important for its job. And everybody has its importance. Everybody has a role to play. It's just like we all have a role to play to keep the peace in our households and to apologize if we ate somebody's plums from the icebox. But I thought talking about how even the smallest things can be so important, I might, with the stuff because of my job, I visit sick people. And because of that, I've had this stuff for years. This is my actual emergency kit for work. And normally I carry one of these for the year, 2019, this one. And if I have to use it, if I'm visiting somebody that doesn't have an immune system and I don't want to give them my germs, I wear this stuff. Or if somebody has a contagious disease that I need to be protected from, I wear this stuff and then I throw it away. I only use one per year. But now, in the current era, we have this stuff every day. And I'll show you the most important piece of personal protective equipment that we have, of course, is soap. And the reason why soap and washing our hands is the most important universal precaution that we use when we visit sick people is viruses don't have skin like us. They don't have it. What they have is a layer of fats on the outside mixed in with a little bit of proteins, which are how they attack our body. But the fat doesn't like soap. Just like if you have greasy dishes and you use dish soap, it spreads the grease out. You see it in the commercials and that. Soap breaks the lipid bilayer that protects viruses and holds their genetic material together. So soap breaks up and deactivates a virus. And of course, in between visits, if I go into a building and I visit 5 people, I have to wash my hands 7 times. The first time I use the soap, and then between everybody, of course, I use hand sanitizer. This bottle of hand sanitizer is very special to me because I actually filled 400 bottles of hand sanitizer from a giant barrel of hand sanitizer for my work. And so in between everybody that I visit, I clean my hands with this. You use soap if there's anything on your hands that you can see, but if there's nothing visible, your hands aren't soiled, then you can use hand sanitizer. But soap is always better if you can. Then if you look at the gear in my safety kit, it has a list that tells me what it is. 1 gown, 1 mask with shield, 1 pair of shoe covers, a cap, gloves, and a red bag with a tie, and 2 antimicrobial wipes, kills germs. And the red bag is for contaminated materials. Anything that has blood or bodily fluids on it, or my contaminated safety gear after I've worn it, goes in the red bag because that's biohazardous waste. It has the cool biohazard symbol on it that you see sometimes in the zombie movies. But that's for contaminated waste because that's not supposed to go in the regular trash. And when my wife Cecily or Dr. John from the congregation test people or work with people that actually have the coronavirus, they have to wear this and change them between all the patients. So you wear the gown. This goes over your clothes. It looks just like a gown. Here's the collar like a shirt. See? And so that's the gown. I didn't want to take another one out and unfold it. And these are the shoe covers, which they don't always wear, but we can. So these go over my shoes. And so I don't pick up germs on my feet. And sometimes we walk into a disinfectant to disinfect the bottom of our shoes when we go in. And so so most of us are using masks more like this right now. This is actually a special one because it has a face shield. And this is so if somebody's coughing or sneezing or whatever, it protects my eyes. And then this is a special mask. This is an N95 respirator. It means it filters out 95% of particles. And the filter on this is so tight that the virus can't get through it. And neither can particles. Tear gas doesn't get through it. This is actually the safety kit that I brought to work with the water protectors at Standing Rock. This exact bag right here went to Standing Rock with me with all my decontamination kit in case I help people feel better after they got tear gassed. And so then these ones, it's hard with the glasses. I put them under and then loop it around. And you take the first one and it goes over your head and it goes just under your ears. And this one goes just over your ears. And there you go. Can't understand me very well. Then, of course, if I'm working with somebody with active virus, do that. And of course, this one right here is one people wear them over their masks just to protect their mask so they can reuse their mask. And so normally, if we're not in in a big crazy pandemic, we only use these once and then we get rid of them. This is a spare one I had from a previous year. It was actually in the kit that went to North Dakota with me. But now, because we don't have enough of them, and because like in my work, we're saving them for the nurses and doctors in the hospital, I have 5. And you'll find that more and more people that work in hospitals have the exact same thing I have right here. I work 5 days a week. And so I have inside each of these bags, this is Tuesday. I have my mask for Tuesday. And so I wear a mask on Tuesday, I put it in my bag, and I keep it in a safe, clean place. And so by the time next Tuesday comes around, the mask will be safe to use again. And that's how we managed to use only 5 of these instead of having to throw them out every day and having to use thousands of them. But so anyway, I just wanted to show you all that, just to show people exactly what we use, because it's kind of mysterious and you see it sometimes on TV. I know like John, Dr. John and Cecily both have on their Facebook, they have their full with the big face shields, but because I don't give tests or be in rooms where they do aerosolizing procedures, like the nebulizer, the breathing treatment, like people with asthma get. I'm not in the rooms where they do that, so I don't have to wear as much protective gear. So even though my job mainly is just to visit people and talk to them and help them feel better, I still have to protect them from me and protect myself from them if they have a contagious disease. And so even these tiny little things, this little mask, there's a big shortage. These masks used to cost 50 cents, and now they're over $7 because so many people are trying to get them, and everybody's trying to get them in the world. And so this is actually a special mask. It's a small mask. These are very rare. The blue masks come in 3 sizes. So this is mine. This is actually a small mask. And so this is the one also that an older child would use if you had to be somewhere where you were exposed. So like that red wheelbarrow glazed with rain, these are my little tools that just seem like pieces of paper and plastic, but they can protect people and save lives and help us get our lives back to some semblance of what we had before, and that we may be using for a little bit here, even my little football mask, just to protect each other and to be safe so that we can live our lives and protect each other and take care of the people we love, and help until we get a vaccine and more treatments for the COVID. So thank you for that. And I hope my show and tell was at least somewhat interesting, and I hope you don't have to use these too much. And so if you'll get ready to join us in the Congregational Covenant.
Each week as we come together, we share our views and how we want to be with one another through our Congregational Covenant. So I'll read the first part, and we'll put up the screen for you to read along with me. In mutual love and grace, we journey together, grounded in profound respect for a diversity of beliefs and ideas, sustained by service and shared ministry, enriched through collective spiritual deepening, and a safe environment for all generations to thrive. And here's what we know. Together, we are more than we would ever be alone. Therefore, we promise to practice radical hospitality, mindful communication, and active stewardship. Thus do we covenant with each other.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. come to me, come to me.
As Kimberly sang, the birds in my yard sang along. Invite you to breathe with me again. And take a deep breath. The image that I used for this service was a beautiful picture of a tree that I found with roots that you can see above the ground, but that you know go beneath the ground, along a river with a big canopy. Rooted, they grip down and begin to awaken is the quote, one of the quotes for this service. And this, beloveds, is the time for us, when we breathe, to use that opportunity to feel ourselves connected to the earth, to all that is. We come each week and each day with so much that is on our hearts. Some that is spoken, some that is unspoken, even to ourselves. So in these few moments, I invite you, especially as you identified things that you felt you needed to apologize for. There's a poem, "We spill more than milk." I would invite you to take this time, feeling your roots and breathing up forgiveness, because we spill more than milk and we will make mistakes, and you are not a mistake. Stepping on the dog's foot. Yeah, you apologize to the dog and give the dog a pet. You do not need to apologize for who you are and how you're feeling in these moments. These are indeed threshold moments, a threshold time. None of us know how to do this. None of us have lived through a pandemic, and we will spill more than milk. So I invite you to find, if not in yourself, then in the roots that ground you to earth, a way to pull up forgiveness and to put your apology down and to not apologize for who you are. Beloveds, in these moments, whoever you are, wherever you are, we know that people are lonely and afraid, having lost loved ones. We hold you tenderly in our hearts. We hold in our hearts all those who are in harm's way for us, for the healthcare workers, and for Reverend James, chaplains and doctors and nurses, and the people who give us our food, all those workers. We give our thanks. As we traverse this unknown territory, know that we are making the way as we go. It is why we bring ourselves into community on Sundays and day after day, because we are learning together and imagining together what can be not only for our world, beloveds, but also for ourselves. Whatever it is that you need to let go of in this moment, let it go. As you pulled up apology or you pulled up forgiveness, put back into the earth all that no longer serves you. See it, say, oh, there you are, and then allow yourself to let it go. Let it teach you, and then let it go. In these times, my thoughts and my prayers are with you always. And this is what I want you to know. You. Are you looking at me? You are always held in love and mystery deeper than you can ever know. And I love you.
There's so much going on. And as I keep saying, in this, our terrible spring, of course, there's still so much joy and so much beauty and so much love, but it's so much to live with. And there were a couple people that apologized for all the things we cannot do and of really feeling not enough in this time. I was reminded, both during Beth's prayer and during some of the words of Adrian Rich. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. And it's so much of having to reconstitute the world that was already ruined. It's been a hard time for me as a chaplain, because for the most part, most of my people I'm not allowed to go see. Once in a while, an occasional, and sometimes right at the last minute, right when somebody's dying, just like the families that were allowed in at the last minute. But it's very painful to watch the doctors and nurses all over that are so overworked, trying to keep families connected to their loved ones and having to help people with saying goodbyes and they're really struggling with it because they still have their other work to do. But that really is the work that I have trained for and that I do. That's the job that I've chosen. I've had 4 people die on a single shift before. It's not great, but it's something that I do. I have the spiritual grounding and the training and the practice to be able to do it. And so luckily for us with the pandemic, we're not seeing it so badly here compared to my colleagues on the East Coast. But even that, one of my doctor friends has done that. And there's been a lot of people talking. Another chaplain, David Pyle, shared something about moral injury. And that's what we're really going to go through. And that's the trauma from this period that we're really going to have to work through, is the moral injury of not being able to do everything, of not being able to save enough. And it really is it's a hard pill to swallow, trying to feel like enough when the problem is so big. And in thinking and reflecting on that, the John O'Donohue poem from the Chalice Lighting is actually something that I'm using in the Blessing of the Hands, a traditional celebration for Nurses Week, which comes up this week because Florence Nightingale's birthday is the 12th. And so I was looking for sources, and ironically, sometimes when I visit atheist patients or patients that don't have a religious tradition, I will often read them poetry. And one of the poems I read is a poem by William Carlos Williams, who, of course, I'm cheating a little because he is a Unitarian Universalist and he's one of ours. And he really wanted to be a poet when he grew up, but he got into the family business as a physician. And so Spring and All, parentheses, by the road to the contagious hospital, that's the section of the book Spring and All that was published in 1923. It was one of his, based off roughly on his experience during the flu epidemic of 1918. But so I'm going to read through the poem. It's a little longer than the 2 that I used for fun and the Time for All Ages. So it'll just take a second. It was a little too long to fit on the slide. By the road to the contagious hospital, under the surge of the blue mottled clouds driven from the northeast, a cold wind. Beyond the waste of broad muddy fields, brown with dried weeds, standing and fallen, patches of standing water, the scattering of tall trees. All along the road, the reddish, purplish, forked, upstanding, twiggy, stuff of bushes and small trees with dead brown leaves under them. Leafless vines, lifeless in appearance, sluggish, dazed, spring approaches. They enter the new world naked, cold, uncertain of all, save that they enter. All about them, the cold, familiar wind. Now the grass, tomorrow the stiff curl of wild carrot leaf. One by one, objects are defined. It quickens, clarity, outline of leaf. But now the stark dignity of entrance. Still the profound change has come upon them. Rooted, they grip down and begin to awaken. Still the profound change has come upon them. Rooted, they grip down and begin to awaken. And I hope that going through all of this together is a period of awakening for us, of seeing the holes in our safety net, of seeing the frayed edges of the tapestry of beloved community, that we might build a stronger bond between each other, that everybody needs people looking after them, that we're seeing even before the coronavirus, a really deep new book by Case and Denton called Deaths of Despair happening in America, of people, particularly overdoses and suicides because of despair in middle America. And our society was already broken before this. It was already inadequate. And while we feel inadequate in our response, feels sometimes like doing justice work, like putting paint on a house that's falling down. We have to remember, and I was taught this by Sharon Welch, the Unitarian Universalist provost at Meadville Lombard School, that all good works are partial. There's a fancy name for that called the eschatological reservation. All of our works can only be but so much. Nothing is perfect. We're not perfect. We're not called to perfection. So one thing is to think about William Carlos Williams as a physician in 1918 during the flu epidemic. He was working as a family physician and he wrote down, we doctors were making up to 60 calls a day. Several of us were knocked out. One of the younger of us died. Others caught the thing, and we hadn't had a thing that was effective in checking that potent poison that was sweeping the world. They'd be sick one day and gone the next. Because they didn't have the mask, the stuff. They didn't have it at all. Especially the real ones that filter particulate to that many microns. They didn't have face shields like this. They didn't have any of that. And they didn't have ventilators. And they didn't have nebulizers, the breathing treatments that people take. And people with asthma get them instead of the rescue inhaler that you carry with you. It's the one you do at home that's stronger. They didn't have any of that. None of that stuff was invented. The first virus wasn't even discovered until 1883. So we live in a world of technological wonder. And it's almost certain that we will have a vaccine to this virus. They almost finished a vaccine for a previous coronavirus outbreak called the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome a couple of years ago, but because it didn't spread that far and it didn't spread here, they stopped working on it. But one of the labs that worked on that one is one of the leading labs on building a vaccine right now. But all of that said, and I know this from my work, on a normal week without a pandemic, still, I have like a little congregation of 60 to 70 families, and about 6 or 7 of them will pass away in a given week. More like 5 a week, almost 1 a day. That's just the normal before, because that's how it is. We're living beings, and eventually we aren't. Just like the leaves fall off a tree. But in our life, we also have happy moments and births, and we build things together. We do reconstitute the world. And I think I try to avoid light dark metaphors because they're problematic, but the seed of anything starts in dark soil and eventually grows its way through into the light. In 2016 or 2017 New Year's, the Sikh feminist Valerie Carr talked about how we feel like we're in a period of darkness, but it's important to recognize that we both have the darkness of the tomb, but also the darkness of the womb. And she reminds us of the midwife's directions, that when we're in the darkness of the womb, to breathe and push, and maybe something new will be born. And when I see that grip down and begin to awaken, it makes me think sometimes of birth metaphor of when they tell moms in labor to bear down right before they push the baby out. We grip down and begin to awaken. And of course, grip down, thinking of the plants, is the roots gripping down and beginning to awaken. And it's so much like spirit of life. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. And it's the holy month of Ramadan for Muslims right now. And in the Islamic religion, they sacrifice and go without to remind themselves of that experience, to connect themselves to other people that have less, and to remind themselves of the riches and the gifts of their everyday life. And I hope that we can have the wisdom to, as we grip down in our units here, in our new ways to do this, and the new ways for us to get together, that we might be able to build new ways of being and new ways of connecting. That we might even build the new society within the kernel of the old. Our society, as I said earlier, was already broken before. But now I feel we're broken open. One of my favorite examples is the wildflower bloom in the desert. It's one of my favorite things. I didn't go this year because of social distancing and quarantine, but around March, April, the flowers bloom in the desert. But the flowers don't bloom only really grows if there was exactly in the right time, the seeds that came out of the cactuses and that were poured with rain and scoured by the desert sand, so that the seed, so the shell of the seed breaks open and it allows the seed to germinate. And again, we've broken over that, we've broken through that husk. We've taken the shell off the almond, and now we can eat that nut that's inside. We can grow beautiful desert wildflowers because this calamity has broken us open to be open to change. If we can maintain the vision, if we can grip down and begin to awaken, to reawaken our spirits, to reawaken the spirits of all those in there, to restore ruins of generations, to awaken voices once faint and once weak, to listen to other people, to broaden our circle of compassion. And so, let us be together. Let us, in this social distancing time, remember that we're really physically distant, not socially distant. That we can get together like this. We can still be families and communities. We can build beloved community, even if we are 6 feet apart, even if we're talking through a window, even if we're talking through a mask that makes it hard to hear my voice. We can still be, and we can still build, and we can take this time to survive as best we can, to maintain as best we can, to take care of ourselves as well as we take care of others, to have, and I beg you, the same generosity of spirit for yourself that you have for others. For that's the ultimate awakening. It's gotten bad enough. They say on the airplane, if you lose cabin pressure, to put your own mask on first before you put a mask on anyone else, because you have to be able to breathe before you can worry about helping everybody else. And that's what we need to do. Take this time for self-care, to the extent that we can make the most of some things slowing down and some things going crazy. Let's grip down our roots here and to recognize and appreciate what we love. And to make sure we share that with each other and communicate with each other. A lot of people are hearing from people that they don't normally talk to, they haven't talked to in years, just as we're all checking in on each other. And that's essential. Like the redwood trees, the mighty redwoods of Northern California, they're the tallest living trees. But their roots are relatively narrow, but the trees stand up because they weave together. Let us weave together. Let us not just grip down in place, but grip across to each other. In building that beloved community, and being able to hold up each other with shade and food and love for now and for the future and for all that can be. Blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend James. Thank you for the reminders of our interconnectedness and our capacity to continue to be and build even as we are apart. And it is indeed building the beloved community is part of the mission. Well, I would say it's the whole mission of our fellowship. The mission of Palomar Fellowship is to nurture mind, body, and spirit, foster peace, justice, and compassion, care for earth and the life it sustains, build beloved community. And there's a sense in which beloved community is that it's a summary statement. And so we sustain the work of this community by sharing our talents with one another, and look at all the talents that we share on Sundays and through the week, and our time, and also our financial giving as we are able. And during this time of pandemic, we know that things are uncertain for many people, and we appreciate those of you who can continue to give and understand if that's not a possibility. And we share half of our undesignated collection each quarter with a local nonprofit. And because that's really how we build beloved community, but through our partnerships and through our connectedness. And we're thrilled that our plate share this quarter is URISE, the Unitarian Universalist Refugee and Immigrant Services and Education. And I so appreciate all of you who have sent in checks, which you can send into the office. You can send your pledge in that way. You can go on to text to give, which the instructions are going to be up in just a second on a slide. They're also in the order of service I sent to you. They're also in the chat. And go ahead and give through text. It's really appreciated at this time as we continue to live our mission. And as you get ready to give, the song that you're going to hear during this time is I Know This Rose Will Open, sung by Brenda Ballmer.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will burn away. I know this rose will burn its wings. I know my fear will burn its wings. I know this rose will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will burn away. I know my fears will burn its wings. I know my fear will burn its wings. I know this rose will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will burn away. I know this rose will unfurl its wings. I know rose will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Let us know that our roses will open, that there will be blossoming and blooming in the world. Our Universalist ancestor, John Murray, used to say, go out into the highways and byways of America and give people hope and not hell, for they've seen hell enough. And I encourage you as much as you can to keep hope alive, to keep that flame burning, to give hope in any way you can. Like it says in the Bible, hope in what is seen is not hope at all. If we can already see it, we don't have to hope for it. It's hard, but bring hope into the world and be a voice for hope. And now join me in the chalice extinguishing words. Although we extinguish this flame, we carry in our hearts the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment until we are together again.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll sing a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll sing a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll sing a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll give you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll sing a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
Yes, I knew I was supposed to unmute myself, but I couldn't. Thank you, James, for that beautiful message. And thank you, Michael, for the beautiful images. They're just so precious, as are all of you. So I invite you to go in peace, be makers of peace. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And don't go too far, because we are going to have an opportunity once we leave this webinar, which will end in a few moments, not now, to sign in to the Zoom meeting that it was in your order of service and the email that I sent. It's on Facebook. It is in the chat. And that will be for our virtual patio time, our virtual coffee hour. We'll have an opportunity to just be with each other, go into breakout groups. We share how we're doing, and then also, think about what you've taken away from the service. So in just a moment, we're going to end this webinar. If you have any questions about that, please put them in the chat right now. Otherwise, in just a few moments, we're going to go ahead and end. this webinar and you'll go back into the Zoom meeting. Okay. It looks like we are just about ready to go. Appreciate all the words of appreciation for James's beautiful sermon and the elements of the service that were brought together so beautifully. So thank you all for that. So we will reconvene in the Zoom room at 11:10 in 10 minutes. How does that sound, Katya and Emily?
Sounds
Does that
perfect.
sound good? All right. So in a moment,